In this video, I'm going to show how to install WeatherTech no-drill mud flaps on my 2020 Chevrolet Colorado. This will work for any second generation Chevrolet Colorado or GMC Canyon. I ordered the mud flaps as a set off of Amazon.com. You can order them individually, front, rear, or as a set of all four, and you can get them directly off the WeatherTech website. I selected free shipping without Amazon Prime, and it said that I would get them in 2 weeks. They actually arrived in 1 week in this box. They're packed really tight. You can see there's a separate carton for each mud flap. And on the top of the box, it'll have the part number and it'll say whether it's the front or rear. In this case, this is the rear mud flap set. I was going to get the mud flaps from Chevrolet. They were black molded mud flaps like these, and based on the pictures, I believe that the rear mud flaps had the Chevrolet bow tie embossed in it, but not embossed in the front. However, the Chevy mud flaps cost a little bit more money. They require you to drill into the truck, and they're made in Canada. Whereas these cost a little bit less. There's no drilling, as the name implies, and they're made in America. Now, we have other products from WeatherTech. We've got the floor liners in both of our vehicles, and we've been very satisfied with those. They're durable, they're easy to install, easy to clean, and I love the fact that they're made right here in America. Additionally, I've got the desk phone, and this thing comes in really handy. I'm considering getting the cup phone for this truck based on my experience with the desk phone. So let me show you what comes inside the box. Simply open the flap here, and you get two individually wrapped mud flaps. Taking them out of the clear plastic bag, you can see on the inside it's marked left hand. This one's marked right hand. Additionally, there are instructions. I've already taken these out and read them. And it comes with two tools. The first tool comes in a little bag, and it's just a T15 bit. You slide that bit into a 1/4 inch socket. I recommend using a 1/4 inch drive ratchet, as there's not a lot of clearance between the tire and the wheel well. And this is to allow you to remove the factory screws you're going to have to take out and reinstall in order to install this mud flap. You also get an Allen wrench, and that's for this fastener here at the top of the mud flap. An Allen wrench simply goes into that button head right there. So, this looks like it's fairly straightforward and simple. Let's get right to it. So simply using the bit in the socket here on the ratchet, remove the screws. I'm going to line the mud flap back up with the screw holes and make sure that the splash shield is up tight against the vehicle. I might have to move this around a little bit to get this screw to line up. And go into the retainer behind all of this. Just a little bit of back and forth maybe. Or move the mud flap out of the way just to make sure I'm lining everything up. I'm just going to hand tighten it with the bit here. Just get one screw in just to get it started. I'll go all the way to this back one. Once again, just going to start it by hand. I have to wiggle the flap here a little bit to get it lined up. Yeah, it doesn't want to line up. There we go. Get it started. Something I've noticed is that this bit tends to fall out of the socket a lot. So if you have a dedicated T15 socket for your ratchet, that might work out a little bit better. I'm not going to tighten one down all the way at first. I'm just going to run them all down a little bit. Then once I've got them down most of the way, I'll go ahead and tighten them. A little bit difficult to do this one-handed. Once I've got them run down all the way, I can go ahead and tighten these down. Now I will say, having to hold the camera and do this makes it difficult. You really kind of could use one hand to guide the bit into place and another hand to work the ratchet, but you get the idea. The last step is to take the wrench that's included with each set of flaps out of the bag and simply run down this button head screw. In case you're wondering, this is a 5/32, so you probably could use a hex bit socket if you've already got one. Once again, it's a little bit more difficult to do one-handed holding the camera. And that's all there is to it. Tighten it down. That's not going anywhere. For the front wheel well, it's the same thing. Go ahead and use the T15 bit. Remove the factory fasteners. A little bit different than the rear. This one only has 2 mounting screws and it just lines right up. Also, just like the rear, I'm going to run this first screw through the flap and then try to align it, kind of try to watch where I'm going here. There we go. You can just feel it line right up with the J-clip there on the back. And then I'll use the bit to start it by hand. Then using the bit, I'll go ahead and run the back screw in by hand. And then tighten it down with the ratchet. Just going to run it down most of the way. I'm not going to tighten it down all the way. I'll run down the other screw. You can see how close it is to the tire. There really isn't a lot of room here to work. Now that they're both run down most of the way, I can go ahead and tighten them down. And I'm just going to tighten it until there's some resistance and then give it just a little bit more. I'm not trying to strip it out or anything else. Right there is plenty. And then just repeat for the back screw here. Starting to get some resistance. Right about there, that ought to be plenty. Then I'll use the included Allen wrench, put it on this button cap screw, turn it clockwise. It should cinch right up. No, it is not. Got to get this in behind there. I did not do that. You might be able to see I kind of botched this up. I didn't get this metal plate in behind the metal lip here of the wheel well. So what I did was I took out this front screw and I loosened the back screw. Now I can turn this 90 degrees and I should be able to tighten it down. I'm going to put some pressure on this because I'm doing it one-handed. There we go. You can see how it just presses right up against the wheel well. Now I can put the bit back into this screw and hopefully everything lines up. It does. Alright, we're good. So, with the ratchet, go ahead and tighten it down. It's most of the way. And I'll get in here to the back one. And run that one down. Once again, difficult one-handed, difficult to watch what I'm doing. Look at the wrench here and watch what I'm doing, or look at the cell phone camera here and still get the proper eye-hand coordination. So that's all you got to do if you make that mistake like I did. I was more concerned with lining up that front screw because it's got to go through two things to get to the retainer back there, and I wasn't paying attention to the clamp at the top. Just like before, start to get some tension on it, and that's good. That's tight enough. That's all there is to it. So that's not all there is to it. I missed this screw hole up here in the upper right hand corner of the front mud flap. So what I did in order to access it was I just loosened the clamp. Now if you loosen it too much, the back side of the clamp will fall out. You'll actually see some blue Loctite from the threads. This is easy to line back up and start a couple threads. But once I was able to loosen the clamp, I could just fold this back and remove the screw. So now it's just a matter of doing what I did before. So first I'm going to make sure that the clamp lines up. So I want to make sure I get it in behind the lip here on the fender. So I'm going to have to apply some pressure to this button head cap screw. This is really a two-handed job. I'm just pushing down on the Allen wrench as I turn it. Got a little bit further to turn since I backed it out most of the way, but you can see it cinches right up there, right up against the wheel well, right up against the fender. So that's nice and tight. That's in there. That's good. So I'm simply going to take the Torx bit, put it into the head of the screw there, and then just line this up. Might have to wiggle it around a little bit, but once you've got it in the screw hole there, it should line up with the retainer in the back. You'll feel resistance and it will start to pull that mud flap in. Once I've got it down to where I can't hand tighten it anymore, I'll go to the ratchet. Once it's tight, just give it a little bit more of a turn and it's good to go. This was really easy to do. It required a minimal amount of tools, no damage done to the truck. It actually took longer to do because I was filming it, and I probably made it look more difficult because I was filming it. So if you've got both hands free and you're not trying to make a YouTube video, this is fairly simple. Actually, the worst part about it was this bit just kept falling out. That was kind of a pain. I had to get wedged underneath the tire. I had to get wedged behind the mud flap. So I'd recommend having something, or at the very least just making sure that the Allen wrench is handy to try to get that out of any tight spot you might get it in during the installation. Looks like it's about to rain, so I'm going in just in time. Thanks for watching.